Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, the Stamp Stitch Club. I'm Louise and I am the owner of the Stamp Stitch Club. I have been promising since the start of the year, my New Year's resolution in fact, was to start a YouTube channel, and so far we are now on the 8th of May and I have got one video up there which wasn't very good. So I have been practicing in the background. I've been trying a few different techniques, a few different bits of software, and I think I am now sorted. So we will see how this goes, and hopefully we'll have a nice little video at the end of this. I'm just going to do a stitch with me today. I'm working on Breakfast Club by Dakota Daetwiler. You can't see it very well because you can only see such a small area, but here we have an ear, and this is the face of a cow going down. I did plan to do a whole load in here for this video, but I had to restart. Technical issues. So I am going to be stitching on these blue tees, which is colour 762, and depending on how long it takes me, I will also try and do some of these red twos, which is 3756. So let's get started. You will have to excuse the fact I have got a terrible cold at the moment. I'm also getting used to having a frame. I've been doing this on a Q-snap for a little while, and so starting my threads to the back because I could flip it over. And I've just put it back in the frame this week, and I still keep going. Put my needle through from the back, but I will get used to it. This, at the moment, is my main project. My hope is that I will get it completed for my sister-in-law's 60th birthday. I'll have 4 or 5 years. I'm not entirely sure, but I know she's younger than my husband, and I have 3 years until his 60th. So that's the reason it's 4 or 5 years until hers. And I should be able to get it done in that time. Once I start stitching on it, I make pretty good progress. It's just finding the time to actually start. I always find, oh, there's paperwork to do. I've got all these pieces of artwork to convert. I'll just do this instead. And I know it was always excuses for not getting sat down and videoing. So I'll admit, I need to do videos and I need to do this kit. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's get it done. I don't know how well you'll be able to see the symbols on this. It's kind of difficult to weigh up you being able to see the symbols against having it really, really close up, and you not being able to see much of the area I'm stitching. So hopefully you can. Oh, I wish not this. Hopefully you can see it okay. When I've been watching Stitch With Me videos done by other people, I do tend to watch quite a lot of the counted cross stitches doing them. And I know they have to stitch in a different way to me, simply because they have to be able to count where they're going next and figure out where the next stitch is, whereas I can just go and see them all in front of me. But I often watch them and think it can be a bit of a fun with counted, whereas stamped is very much get in there and get moving. When I was doing counted cross stitch, I stitched on the diagonal. It would have been 20 wide and usually about 3 rows deep. And I really enjoyed stitching that way. I did cross country within my diagonal and you didn't get lines. You still got a good amount of stitches done each time because you were doing cross country within an area. But it was still very methodical and very organised. And I tried doing that on this um, kit, and it frustrated the life out of me. I think I got 2 diagonals in. I just went, why am I bothering to park my threads? Why am I bothering to do all this when I can see where the next stitch goes? And there's no need for being as methodical and organised with a stamped cross stitch as you are counted. That's probably why it speaks to me more. I am not. I like the idea of being methodical. The actual practice of it is where I kind of fall down. I'm actually quite liking it. Pale colours as well are an absolute pain. My children will put it, a pain in the butt cheeks when you're stitching on plain white cloth. I used to hate doing white because you couldn't really see where you'd stitched, and it was quite difficult. Whereas when you're doing it on stamped, because you're going over a symbol, it makes it a lot easier to see. It's a little thing, but it does actually make quite a big difference to your stitching. And I quite like it. Doesn't make my white stitches look any neater. I always find that pale colours look a lot less neat than the brightest colours. However, I've also found that they kind of settle over time. So where they're frustrating me with their lack of neatness at the moment, I know if I come and look at this tomorrow, I won't be able to see what was frustrating me. I'll be quite happy with how it looks. You'll also notice I do one stitch at a time. I can never remember whether that's the English version or the Dutch version or whatever it's called. But rumour has it doing one stitch at a time is neater than doing all your bottom legs and then going back and doing all your top legs. Takes slightly longer and your back isn't as neat. But for me, having the front looking better is far more important. No, obviously not important enough for me to railroad all my stitches. I do it occasionally when I'm feeling extra enthusiastic, but very, very rarely. In fact, my husband's just had a breakthrough at work. I can hear him. Ah, downstairs. We we both work from home, so me and my husband are together 24/7. Oh no, this is getting ridiculous. I'm just knotting all of these constantly. Um, ooh, knotting around a thread. That's why. Look at me. Just snip this out of the way. I have no idea where that's come from. It must have been trailing on the back of my other stitches that I did earlier. Yes, both me and my husband work from home, so we are together 24/7. When we first met, we were together 24/7 because we worked together. Never blown. Never blown. Have any of you watched food videos by the Japanese lady? I think she's called Kamari, but she's forever changing her YouTube channel. She stitches the supersized max colours from Heaven and Earth, and she does it an awful lot quicker than what I can stitch. I have no idea how she manages to stitch so fast. But one of the things that she does is she doesn't finish a thread. When she stopped stitching with a colour, she literally pulls the needle off and just leaves it hanging at the back. And she says that they never come loose, they never come out. But I want to know how she doesn't get her later threads caught in it. So you saw me getting caught in that other thread up there. That was because I had a trailing thread on the back from where I'd finished a stitch earlier. So if she's stitching all of these threads and just leaving them hanging without securing them, how does she manage not to get them caught up in the later stitches? Answers on a postcard. I wonder if she'd like to do stuff. I've noticed she's doing the Library of Cats, the super size. That's the colour. Um, it's two supersized charts. Splitting the image down the middle, which to me just it would take me a lifetime to do that. When I'm doing these, I do try to weigh up getting enough detail in without making the pits too big. I know they look big compared to a lot of stamped kits. I don't know if I've got that. I know the standard with stamped kits is to say, oh, it's 40 centimetres by 50 centimetres. But I don't like that. I like to know that you're getting all the detail in. All the little nuances of an image are going to be there. You're going to have the shading. You're going to have the same depth of an image as what you get if you're doing a counted kit. Now, I do try not to make them quite as big as most counted kits would be, because although there's a few people who will do counted on 16 or 18 count, I know a lot of people tend to do them on 25 count, and that automatically makes them appear to be smaller than what they are. I'd actually started this kit previously when Heaven and Earth had the licensing for it, and when I was stitching it, it looked smaller than this one, but I know it was over 500 stitches wide, which is very, very wide for this. So it was almost 700 stitches tall. Now this is 400 by 500. It's an awful lot smaller. But because this is being done on 16 count, and I was doing that one on 25 count, it did look like the Heaven and Earth one was smaller than what I'm doing at the minute. It's very deceptive. Don't like coming up square from the back. There was already a lot of threads in that corner. However, I am not methodical enough to stitch in a way that prevents it from happening. I think if you watch Miho, her videos show her generally trying to come up in an empty space. And there's also a YouTuber called Gemma Stitches, and she stitches in a way that she will never like surround a stitch with other stitches. She will always have it. You know, she couldn't stitch this T that I'm doing now. She would have to stitch that cross first. And theoretically, I like that idea. I do like it, and you know stitches will be neater doing it. But I do not have that level of patience for changing threads. Once I have a thread on my needle, I want to see it through to the end. And if I run out of T's to stitch here, I will move over here and do some down here. I will move over here. I don't like to put my thread back on the floss card if I can help it, because we know where stitches are going. It's stamped. We don't really need to worry about it. We can just keep on moving around. We can jump wherever we want to. Why not take advantage of that? Yeah. I feel like I'm starting to see this come together a little bit more now. I'm looking forward to getting rid of these yellow squares with the red circles on them. I have no idea what colour that is. I can't tell from a little bit of a key that I have visible here. But I do find these ones quite distracting when I'm trying to stitch. Anybody else find that? Like, nope. I want those to go. Bright yellow, not appealing to me. It needs to be gone. Nope. I knew that was going to happen. So as you can probably tell, I do not have a methodical path through when I'm stitching. I just go where I see the next symbol. I think sometimes we need to sit back and remember this is a hobby. We do this for relaxation and for enjoyment. There's no rules that you have to abide by. Yes, it looks a lot better if you do all your top legs the same way, which is all to do with how the light reflects off them. And so it looks neater. But if that's not what you want to do, then that's completely up to you. These are your pieces. I saw something in a Facebook group the other day asking if it was okay to change the colour of a floss in a kit. And I was just like, these are your, once you've purchased it, this is your kit to do with and stitch as you want. There's no cross-stitch police got to come round and tell you you're doing it wrong. Probably there's people in Facebook groups who will tell you you're doing it wrong because some of them seem to think that they're gatekeepers. But that wouldn't be me. I think one of the main things with cross-stitch to remember is there to help shut off your brain. This is why I like stamped cross-stitch so much. You don't have to think at all. You can just look to where you're putting your next stitch and you can completely relax into it. And I didn't find I relaxed much when I was doing some of the cheaper kits, simply because you had to think about it more. You had to get your phone out and take photos of it to figure out what symbol you were meant to be stitching. And that's not what I want to do. I want to turn off completely and relax. I am almost at the end of this thread, and although I haven't finished all the T's, I am going to move on to the 2's. Simply because, what are we on, 25? Simply because I don't want you to be sitting there while I'm faffing about threading needles. As I become more confident with these, which I'm sure will happen over time, I may change my mind and just have you sit there waiting on me. But I am not the world's best needle threader, and it can take me a little while to manage it, even if I'm using an actual threader to help me through. Think I'll get all of these ones done? I'm not sure that I will. I'd like to, but I'm not going to play thread chicken too much. I'm sure there's probably somebody shouting at their screen. I've done it the other way. I've stitched all my bottom legs first instead of me full crosses. I might have had enough thread to do it. Oh look, I think I'm just about going to manage it. Woohoo! Let me see. There we go. Perfect. We'll come and finish this off up here. There. I'll cross it over here a little bit more. And snip off. Right, before moving on to my two, I'm going to have a mouthful of my coffee. I can't remember the last time I spoke this much. Okay. So, this is 3756, and all these stitches are going to be a bit of a nightmare to do because they are all surrounded by other stitches. But we will do them and it will all be okay. And then we will have a cow's forehead. What more could you want? Quite nice in here. I've sat underneath the skylight in my bedroom and I can hear the birds out in the back garden. Quite a nice day. Birds are out in the back garden. My cat is in his basket next to me, and he seems to have refrained from snoring for a little while, which is a bonus, because sometimes he can be extremely noisy. I think he gets hay fever. He does an awful lot of sneezing and gets watery eyes. Then occasionally he'll do a bit of coughing, and we've had him to the vets multiple times. He's had scans and tests and blood tests and all those lovely expensive things, and they can't find anything wrong with him. We've changed his food, which does seem to have helped a little bit. I'm absolutely convinced he just has hay fever. It's a little bit weird for a cat. He doesn't go outside an awful lot. Anyway, he's a ragamuffin, and they're not known for their brains. So you are advised when you get them to not let them out because they won't survive, because they won't understand not walking out in front of a car or things like that. Now, he goes out on a lead and he's terrified of cars, he's terrified of people, terrified of his own shadow, to be frank. His favourite thing is to go out on the front when he can have a nosy at the neighbours. He doesn't particularly like being on grass, so if you take him out in front of our house, we've got quite a long driveway. like being able to walk up and down that and just take in what's happening. Oh, can I get that one in? There we go. These are quite difficult to see just where you are. And I know if I was to do this, where I was only doing the bottom leg in a row and coming back and doing the top leg, if there was any sort of gaps, I would get completely lost. And you would find so many half stitches. And it was a kit that I started last year in 18 count, and I realised after I started it, I really don't get along with 18 count. So Rachel took it from me and finished it off. But she did message me after a couple of days to comment on the number of half stitches that I had done. So I stopped doing it. I stopped stitching that way. We are getting there. I think we've actually done quite a decent number of stitches this afternoon. Does anybody have any nice plans for the weekend? I always have this idea that I'll be able to do more stitching on a weekend because I won't be doing work. I have a rule that I don't check my emails or my messages on a weekend because I will get drawn into things. If I don't answer them straight away, then I'll completely forget about them by Monday morning. So I just don't look messages. But I have 2 small children, so I don't actually have more time on a weekend because we generally have things on with them. So tonight, Lily has got a private gymnastics lesson. First time we've done a private one. And literally because next weekend she has a competition and she's really, really stressed about it. She's 10 years old, and this is like the most important thing in her life at the moment. So they've given us the criteria for what she has to do, and they've told them like where the points will be allocated, and if you don't do your backward rolls perfectly with straight legs, then you'll get a point deducted, and if you go over your shoulder rather than over your head, you'll get a point deducted. And I've been spending my evenings the past couple of weeks spotting her as she's been doing gymnastics across my bedroom. But with some of it, I don't know how to advise her. I am not very good at gymnastics. So we said if we got her a private lesson, then they could tell her where she's going wrong, what she needs to do to get it right, and then I can help her to perfect that in time for a competition next weekend. See how it goes. So that's tonight's fun and games. Tomorrow Both kids have got jiu-jitsu in the morning, and then Lily has got dance in the afternoon. And then on Sunday, Lily is busy again. She is Sunday. She's going canoeing with Scouts. So it's to go towards some sort of bad work. And they said you don't have to roll if you don't want to, but if they want to get their badge for canoeing, doing a roll is part of it. So she's now torn. Personally, I know it's not something I could do. I am not confident in water, which may sound odd coming from a town where it's three sides water, but I've never been a confident swimmer. Now Lily she's an excellent swimmer, but she's very scared of things until she's done them. It took weeks and weeks for her. Oh, why is my there? I don't know why it just went off. It took weeks and weeks for her swimming instructor to convince her to dive into the pool. Once she'd done it, she loved it, but it was weeks before she'd even try it. So it'll be interesting to see whether she actually manages to do the role on Sunday. Although she'll be terrified, I know if there's other people doing it, she is very, very competitive. So that might be enough to push her to do it. Yeah. So not every weekend is usually this busy. This one just seems to be a bit mad. In fact, the next few weeks seem to be a bit mad. It's like school finishes on the last day of June in Northern Ireland, and in the run up to that, all of the clubs seem to be trying to get in as many activities as possible. Let me finish off. Right. Let the whole go, and then we'll force it through. I don't go through the middle of the square because obviously that would then be hiding the symbol, which isn't very helpful on a stamp kit. But I usually find just going through this bit, because the material is so stiff, and then if I pull it up a few stitches away, it actually holds really well. Mr. Teddy has just sprung to life next to me. Have you seen this on my hand? This was him 2 days ago. I wasn't giving him enough attention, so he pounced on me. He's a very, very stroppy cat. He needs lots of attention all of the time. He doesn't like to be on his own. He always likes to have human company. And you don't even necessarily need to be petting him most of the time. You just need to be in the same room as him. But he is, there we go. He's quite happy now to be sat with me while I'm doing this, and he'll fall asleep next to me. But he has taken this week to wanting quite a lot more attention than what he usually does. Oh, I'm having problems getting these stitches in. And he will yowl at me just to pick him up and carry him around the house with me. We've had quite ridiculous for a kid. His reputation for being very independent and not needing people. And he isn't like that at all. He's very much a people's cat. Yeah, I want to come down here. You can tell when I'm concentrating, can't you? I go a lot quieter when I'm concentrating hard on getting this needle in. Now, which side should I go to? Do this side first and then come back. Maybe not needles, I want to go in here. There we go. There we go. Moving now. That's a bit better. I think, 42 minutes, and I've managed to gibber away at you all for all this time. This has been one of my main fears is, what on earth do I find to talk to you all about for an hour's video? It's really, really strange spending so much time chattering away to somebody who's not replying. It's a very one-sided conversation here. And I do know that the logical answer to that is to go, well, do it as a live stream so people can respond. Might just be a touch too far at the moment. Plus, I'm not really organised enough to be able to say, right, I will be going live at such a date, at such a time. Because literally, I spent all week trying to schedule this in. And every time I thought I had it sorted, something came up and I put it on the back burner. Maybe if it was live that I'd scheduled, I'd prioritise it over other things. That might work. I have some new kits coming. I think they should be here Tuesday. I'm looking at tracking. That's with our new artists, and they're in 20 count. So I'm hoping to do Stitch with me on at least one of those next week. With it being 20 count, I am going to try and stitch and see how it looks. It would be nice to be able to see a bit of progress quite quickly on them. This one, I knew I wanted to do full crosses because it's a gift, and so I think it's more important for it to look properly done. Whereas the other ones will be for me and just going on my walls in here. So I'm not as bothered as to whether they're properly done. I just want them to look nice at the end of it. And I'd rather see a bit of progress quite quickly if I can. I'm not entirely sure what the coverage will be like with intense stitch. So you can sit with me while we experiment next week. Let me know what you think. We are almost done with the twos. Excuse me. That is the problem with turning away halfway through a stitch. Where on earth was it? It could have been anywhere. Right. Do these two here. Oops, one there, and those three there. And I think with that, we will call it a day. So that I could get the best light and get cameras positioned and all that sort of good stuff. I'm actually sat on the floor underneath a skylight so that you guys can see it better. And I will be honest, when you're approaching 50, it's not the comfiest place to be. And I am sat here wondering how the hell I'm going to get up afterwards. It's not going to be the easiest for me. So I usually have this big frame on my chair, but I wouldn't be able to move to get to the lighting and to get to the laptop for doing the video. So that just wasn't possible today. But I'm hoping to do my others in a more Q-snap type frame next week. We'll see how it goes. Okay, there we go. Can we see any more little twos that I've missed? I don't think there is. I'm quite happy with how much progress we've done today. I'm going to come over here and finish off this thread in there and just snip it off. And because I like stamps, I'm going to go now and I'm going to fill out in not in pattern keeper, in markup how many stitches I've done today. And then we can see if I managed to hit my 300 goal for this one. Oh, hopefully I will get this uploaded shortly and I will be back next week with either some more on this or one of my new kits for you. I may try and do an unboxing first and show you what I've got, and then we'll try and do a little stitch for me. We'll see how time works next week. Okay, thanks everybody for joining me today if you've managed to last this long, and enjoy your stitching. Have a good weekend. Bye.